Okay, this is the last piece in chapter 7. It's a big chapter, isn't it? And this is cost, volume, profit, part 4 on ratios. In this presentation, we'll talk about a margin of safety, operating leverage, and the most profitable cost structure. Now, risk factors for businesses depend on a lot of things. I mean, you've got challenges that come from a lot of different directions. First of all, the general health of the economy is, always a serious thing, as you can see what's happened with COVID. I mean, the pandemic has really had a global impact on business. The industry that you're operating in, I mean, industries come and go, and they get replaced by technological innovation and things like that. The current volume of sales, all right, that might change, go up or down, and the fixed and variable costs. So these are all factors that influence risk, and now we'll look at a couple other ratios, the margin of safety and operating leverage. And the margin of safety is literally the excess of actual or expected sales over break even. Okay, that's all it is. So you want to take your sales less. So this could be current. I'm going to say current sales, or okay. So current sales less break-even sales. Can't type. Is the margin of safety. Okay, so that's how many units we have before we're in trouble. Okay, before we could where to go? Before we're going to start losing money. So that is the drop in sales that the company can absorb without incurring a loss. And the higher this margin is, the less risky the company is. Now here's our example with Kay and her posters. She generally sells 950 posters a month. Her break even is 500, so the margin of safety in units is 450 posters. In order to figure it out in dollars, you can just take those same posters and multiply it times the unit price. In dollars, it's $15,750. Okay? Here it is as a percentage, and this gets a little bit harder to think about. The margin of safety in a percentage is, first of all, your margin of safety in units, okay, divided by the actual sales in units, gives us 450 divided by 950, or 47%. So the higher that number is, the better shape we're in. And in dollars, we can take the margin of safety in dollars divided by actual or expected sales in dollars. All right, so it's just these numbers, divided by, turned into a ratio, and that would give us the same 47.4%, of course. Now, operating leverage and operating leverage factor, and what leverage measures translates into risk. And it's the relative amount of fixed and variable costs that make up total cost. So, and what it does is it tells you how much a company's operating income will change with changes in volume. So at any given level of sales, we can take the contribution margin divided by operating income, okay? And that would give us our operating leverage. The greater the operating leverage factor, the greater impact a change in sales volume has on operating income. Okay, and we'll do problems on this. So the greater the factor, the greater the impact a change in volume has on operating income. It's easier to see in graphic form. So this is a mess, isn't it? So this is the operating leverage and the factor. This indicates the percentage change in volume, percentage change in income that would occur with a 1% change in volume. So here, let's say she sells 950 posters per month. That would give us revenue of, oh no, that's a contribution margin, 13.3. See, we can skip calculating variable cost and everything, sales and variable cost, we can just use the contribution margin here. So 13.3 minus your fixed expenses gives you operating income of 6,300. If I take my contribution margin and divide it by the 6,300, so it's the contribution margin divided by operating income, I get 2.11. So, 2 is good. That means that if K's volume changes by 1%, her operating income will change by 2.11%. Okay, or 2.11, sorry. Okay, all right. Now, high operating leverage means that a company has higher fixed costs and lower variable costs and higher contribution margin ratios. Okay, it would be a higher contribution margin ratio because your variable cost is low. But that would be high leverage. And what that can translate to is that we have a lot of fixed costs. Okay, rather than having variable costs, we've got fixed costs that keep our business going. For high operating leverage companies, changes in volume significantly affect operating income. So they face higher risk and a higher potential reward. Okay, so golf courses, that's a really good example because they go out of business all the time. Golf courses, hotels, rental car agencies, theme parks, airlines, cruise lines, these are all high fixed asset companies, right? Okay, they would all be higher leveraged and have higher risk, but a higher potential for reward. So when things are good, they would be very good. Now here, for low leverage firms, a low leverage company has higher variable cost, okay, and then lower fixed costs. So therefore, a lower contribution margin ratio. Changes in volume don't have a significant effect on operating income, so they've got lower risk, but then a lower potential for reward. Okay, because those variable costs are higher. And examples are merchandising and fast food restaurants. Okay, we're getting ready for the last slide here. And choosing a cost structure, which is really a big decision. There's a point at which a company is indifferent between two options, because they result in the same cost. So let's say Kay has two leasing options. She can our variable cost here is 10% of sales revenue, so that would be $350 per poster. Fixed cost with one, okay, these are the two options. You can either pay so much per poster plus a fixed cost of $300, or you can pay a fixed cost of $1,000. Okay, so what we do is you kind of set the two equations equal to each other. So variable costs plus fixed equals the variable cost. So that's how we're setting it equal. Okay, so if I've got my number of units times the variable cost per unit plus fixed costs equals number of units times the variable cost per unit plus fixed cost. So for the first option, our number of units, we're trying to solve for the number of units. Our cost is $350 per poster plus a fixed cost of $300. Okay, so that would equal, we have no unit variable cost here, that would be zero, but that we're setting that equal to the $1,000 of fixed cost. And they're equal, it won't make any difference between the two if your number of units is 200 units. Okay, so what we did was we set the two equations equal to each other and then solved for the cost per unit. Okay, all right.